That's because I'm good at what I do. I'm just kidding. Let's just start off right. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Good afternoon and welcome to March 17th, 2026 Regina Planning Commission meeting. We acknowledge that we are on traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory and signed with 35 First Nations across the southern Saskatchewan and parts of Alberta and Manitoba, and the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. The City of Regina owes its strength and vibrancy to these lands and the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory, as well as settlers from around the world who continue to be welcomed here and call Regina home. Some members of the Commission and City Administration may be attending the meeting today through video conferencing, and I would like to remind those members of the following. Please ensure that your video camera and microphones are turned off. If a member of the Commission wishes to speak, use the raise hand function to be placed in the speaking queue. When speaking, remember to unmute your microphone and enable your video camera. Okay, so reports considered by the Commission at today's meeting will be considered by City Council at its meeting scheduled for March 25th. The deadline to register as a delegate for the City Council meeting is 12 o'clock p.m. That's noon on Monday, March 23rd, 2026. A written submission is required of all delegations at the time of registration to speak at City Council. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda at the call of the chair with the addition of the registered delegations? Commissioner Hill, Wilson. Thank you. Any opposition? Okay, that is carried. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the February 2026 Regina Planning Commission meeting? Councillor Rasevich, seconder. Commissioner Hill. Oh, we don't need a seconder. Yeah, I kind of thought so after the fact. Okay, thank you. Any errors or omissions? No. Anyone opposed? That is carried. Okay, we have two delegations on our first item, RPC 26-4. I would like to call upon delegation. Where are we here? Sorry. Yeah. Okay. William Wells from Albert Park Community Association. Please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you represent, if any, and what city or town you reside in. You will have 5 minutes to address the commission, after which you will have the opportunity to respond to any questions that members of the commission may have for you. All right, please, hang on, let me just.
It's working?
Okay, so you have 5 minutes whenever you're ready. Bill, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to present to the Planning Commission today. I'm William Wells. I live in Albert Park, and I'm here on behalf of the Community Association, who would like to make some suggestions with respect to this report 3, in fact. And it may be useful to members to look at your maps in your report. I think it's Appendix A1. Because I'll be referencing various streets and locations on that map, so that may be helpful to members. So we're recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to Council the ML zone, not the MH. Essentially, as we understand it, you can do all of the things in both of those zones, with the exception in MH. You get to do car washes, gas stations, and drive-through restaurants. Within 200 meters, there are 2 gas stations, 2 car washes, and a fast food restaurant. I'm not sure there's a quota for how many restaurants and gas stations you have to have per 100 meters. But we would suggest the problem here is with respect to the activities in the rugby park and the fact that those three activities, type businesses, are through traffic. So they're not coming to visit a doctor or visit a restaurant or visit a business. They're there to get some gas and get out. They're there to get a donut and get out. They're there to get a car wash and get out. In the summer, if you look at your map, the street of Parliament Avenue doesn't have curbs and is lined with cars during the flag football season, half in the ditch, half on the street. The entire length of Parliament Avenue from the playground to the far east, that's not on your map, all the way to Pasqua, all the way down Queen Street, from Parliament Avenue to, in many cases, to Rawlinson, the entrance to Rawlinson Crescent. And you can't see it on your map, but north on 25th Avenue, parking on the street there, parking in this business parking lots, parking in the neighborhood residential streets, because there's insufficient parking on site to accommodate the activities that go on in flag football season. And as you probably know, Saskatchewan and Quebec are the two most engaged with flag football in Canada, the two provinces that are most involved in that. We have hundreds of kids that are involved in that. So that would be the first suggestion. We think you get the same kind of businesses with those three exceptions. That's, we think, a reasonable compromise given some of the traffic and parking issues related, particularly during the summer, when I suspect drivers that are simply going through are driving slower, faster in the summer than they do in the winter because of ice and snow and so on. Second thing we would recommend that that the Planning Commission recommend to Council the development of additional off-street parking, such as parcel T on your map. Now, we're not asking the city necessarily to go pave it tomorrow, but lots of people try to park in there during flag football season, and the consequence is if it's rained, that's a mud hole. So you've got to get people through the mud hole. You've got cars coming in and out of the mud hole. It lessens the ability of cars to park there because you're fighting with the mud, you're fighting with sliding around and so on. So we're saying, can you do something with that to get some of the parking off of Parliament? The third thing we would recommend is that the administration, that the Planning Commission recommend to Council that the administration look at some pedestrian crossing devices on both 25th Avenue and on Parliament. Because Parliament's a very busy street, likely to get busier over time with growth of the city. And you've got cars back, partially in the ditch, partially on the street, and kids and families trying to get between those to get to their flag football games. So if you look around the city at other facilities of a similar kind, Mount Pleasant doesn't have an off-street or on-street parking problem. Douglas Park doesn't. The university doesn't. Real doesn't. City recreation facilities, by and large, don't have parking problems. Or Pacer Ballpark doesn't have this kind of problem. And it's never been addressed, and we're suggesting that at this point, if you're going to congest the area, you need to deal with those issues. So those are the three recommendations, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Do any members of the commission have questions for the delegation? Councillor Rasevich, please go ahead.
Through the chair, I'm assuming there was consultation.
Yes, we had three members of city staff who came to, I think it was the January Community Association board meeting. Now that you've given me the opportunity, I want to commend those three individuals who came. We had a very positive discussion that instead of being 10 or 15 minutes, it was like an hour or more of a conversation with the three folks. And I think there was some learning both ways in terms of understanding the kind of positive sort of planning that we like to see as a community association, where we're engaged and we have people from the city who are, first of all, there, and second of all, they're engaged in listening to what we have to say.
Are those of your 3 points, how did it go? Talking with it, I guess, with the city, with the men.
Okay, I tried to do that quickly. We had a conversation about, did we clearly understand the difference between ML and MH, right? And your zoning is to achieve certain ends. the volume of traffic or the speed of the traffic in an area that's already congested is what prompts us to be concerned about or in favor of the ML versus the MH zoning, because it takes 3 through traffic businesses out of the equation. With respect to the parking, I don't mean to embarrass anyone, but I think some of the city staff didn't realize that there's no drainage, it's swales or ditches, that there's no curbs, there's no parking, and I'm not being critical at that. It was a learning exercise on both sides, and we thought that was a signal of a valuable conversation. And in terms of the crossing, that was another sort of conversation. And it wasn't adversarial, it was sort of a learning exercise on both sides. So the Community Association Board went away with a very positive feeling about those 3 individuals and the fact that they were engaged. They came to listen and to inform us.
Okay. Any feedback from on the crosswalks during your guys' conversations? Because
I think that was more of a information from us to them kind of thing, as opposed to them having a solution or having because they were simply there, I think, to talk about MH, yeah. Okay. And we wanted to know what the options were, and we thought ML was a better fit for our community. And it's consistent with the development that goes north on Pasco Street, north of Parliament Avenue.
Right.
That's ML as well. And those are, if you go drive by there, you may or may not be familiar, there's some, a number of very attractive buildings that are built there. It's not sort of just a bare strip mall. There's nice buildings that have parking lot, they have landscaping and so on. That's the kind of thing that we would like to see more of in terms of a neighborhood and contribution to the community.
Okay, all right. Okay, thanks. Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Okay, Bill, I'm just going to jump in here ahead of you all because I'm the chair. Just kidding. So just to confirm the 3 points, because I didn't want to miss it. Pedestrian crossing, ML versus MH, is that correct? And
Yes.
parking, okay, perfect, and parking.
Yes,
Okay.
and the parking issue,
Great,
those are the
perfect.
3.
Thank you, I just wanted to document that. Okay, so next up is Councillor Sickles, please go ahead.
I think Councillor Rasovich asked my questions, but while you were talking, I was wondering, were you provided any sort of statistics from the city on volume of cars, anything
No,
in that regard?
from our perspective, it's observation. If I live in the area, I go down Parliament during the flag football season, and you drive really slow because it's bumper to bumper, families, because the games turn over about every hour. So you've got a whole set of like 8 or 10 fields clearing out every hour and coming in. So parking and people driving around trying to find a spot to park is, a pretty active pursuit at that point, trying to find a blank space and stopping, waiting for somebody, are they getting in their car? Are they going to back out? Are they going to get out? Kind of thing. So that's the challenge. If you live there, you know what that looks like. If you have family members who play flag football, you know what kind of a mess that is. And so far, there's no solution. That's why we're saying we'd like the Planning Commission to recommend the council to come to grips with these things that have been longstanding problems.
Okay, well, I think that means I'll probably save most of my questions when we're with admin, and maybe we can find a solution today. Thank you.
I wanted to ask the question, when you meet as a community association, I didn't see that there was a specific proponent for this development in this area. Has your committee had some conversations about what you'd prefer to see there on that site? It's a pretty big area. We're only talking about one aspect of it. Has there been conversations at the community association level of what you would like included to add to the community?
Okay, what we understand of the ML zoning is that if you recommend that and council approves it, then whatever is permitted within ML could occur there. It would be nice to be able to direct what kind of building and maybe be the architect, but I don't think I can go that far. But we reference what's north on Pasco Street, and we say, gee, there's a number of, single purpose in many cases, not all, ML zoning, as we understand it, and they're attractive buildings, they have parking lots on site, they have landscaping, that would be a positive contribution as opposed to sort of a syndicate building that's 1 story high that has a gas station and all the litter associated with a fast food restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. We're saying, well, gee, that would be a positive contribution. It doesn't deny, other than those 3 types of businesses, the opportunity to build there. It doesn't preclude, I don't think it precludes a strip mall. But it precludes, in our view, if we eliminated those 3, anything else would more or less be acceptable, because we wouldn't have that through traffic risk to the activities during the summer, spring, summer, fall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sontag, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful presentation. My question is, you can answer this however you want, whether it's a days, weeks, months, or percentage of the year. How much time in that, given that those parameters, how many days of the year, if I can use that one, are occupied with? Obviously, there's not flag football going on now, so what percentage of the year is there's no activity going on?
Basically the winter.
Okay.
Although a month ago I did see people out playing rugby.
Okay.
So it's basically the spring, summer, fall kind of season when it's busy. I don't know the exact, I just know that I go to flag football games there
Yeah.
because I got grandkids. As to when their season officially starts and officially ends, to me, it just lasts all summer. But
And it's usually very busy during all of, like, spring through fall all the time then? Or is there, I mean, obviously there's going to be times when it's not, but
Sure.
is that generally quite busy during those times?
So I'll try to answer your question this way. The flag football season tends to be on weekends.
Okay,
So for simplicity's sake, Saturday, Sunday.
yeah,
The games start as early as 8 in the morning. They go sometimes to 5, 6 o'clock at night.
yeah.
And there's scores of games going on at the same time. I've never tried to count them, but there's all kinds if you happen to drive by there during one of those days. So there's a huge number of children playing, which means there's a huge number of cars, of parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles who are there to watch. And so the place is just plugged with vehicles. And there's nowhere to go. All right, in terms of parking a vehicle, you can't go across Lufan, and try to walk back kind of thing. And there's nowhere, if you go south, you're into residential streets. If you go north, you're into residential streets. The only parcel that we can see that could be turned into some kind of parking lot is, what's the letter on it? T, which we think would take a lot of the pressure off in terms of whatever ML zoning produces in that parcel of land. It would be nice if a corner of that parcel of land was a parking lot too, but that may be too much to hope for, because if you look at the A1,
Yep.
initially it's this parcel here that's got the thatched sort of lines on it.
Yep.
And we had suggested in last year and so on, that this parcel in the corner would also be parking to take some of the pressure off Queen Street. But that may be a bridge too far for the administration and the planning commission to consider that. But that would certainly be great if you did, but we're not anticipating you're going to do that.
Thank you for your answer. My only other question is related to, so if you were to be accommodated, I don't know which recommendation was, but in parcel T, would that alleviate almost all of the pressures at peak times?
I don't know what the north lot line is on parcel T.
Okay.
So I can't tell you how far north it goes. What I can tell you is particularly when it's been wet, prior to the weekend, if you will, is that there's fewer cars per acre, if you will, than there might be if it was actually organized or paved or was graveled or something. And it went further north in terms of what's available in terms of parking. I don't know what's under that land, but I'm assuming that while structures might be impossible if there's something under there that prohibits, but further north there is buildings on what appears to be that parcel. So I don't know what the restrictions might be, but there's never been buildings that far south on that parcel T or south of the baseball diamonds.
Thank you very much. If it's as soggy as you say it is, there might be some cars under there yet.
Pasco Street can be really dirty after a weekend.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I see, okay, Councilor Rasevich, I have you on, but I do have a question just to clarify. In terms of the parking, and so in relation to the 4025 Parliament, so you're saying that the parking concerns are, and forgive me because I'm trying to figure out where things are just based on this Google map thing. So where specifically are you talking about?
Okay,
Is
so-
it on Parliament? Because this is just open space here.
So the parcel, as I understand it, in question before you today is this parcel here. If you
Yes.
look at the next one, it merges the two properties into one zone, if you will, or one parcel. Parcel T is this parcel over here to the west of the rugby and the SGI facility, on the sort of between Pasco Street and the Louvain. And it starts at Pasco and goes north, and I don't know how far north it goes, but that's the only area that we can think of that would alleviate the parking issues on Parliament, Queen, and on 25th, et cetera. So the whole area surrounding the rugby fields, people show up in huge numbers. They park anywhere they can find a spot, and it's problematic in terms of safety, particularly on Parliament. And there's no pedestrian controls. There's no parking options. So we're saying if you're going to deal with this parcel, then you should deal with all the associated planning, in our view, planning issues that are either going to be exacerbated or maybe solved by your recommendation. So simply approving ML or MH doesn't deal with the other issues about safety, about parking, et cetera. So we're asking you to recommend to council all three of those issues and to go with the one that doesn't have the sort of the volume of through traffic that would be problematic whether there's parking solutions or not.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Rasevich.
Thank you, through the chair. So that was a good question by Maynard, just about, the time, the length, it's like people riding bikes. People aren't riding bikes in this city in the winter. Sorry. It's the same as playing flag football or cricket so
Sure.
it's probably roughly 4 months a year,
Sure.
we could say, right? So those are what, I'm just trying to compartmentalize and, the problem times, right?
Right.
Okay, so it's basically, 4.5 months a year type
Sure.
thing. Otherwise, parking's not an issue. But you mentioned parking. So on Parliament, on the south side of Parliament, you were talking about people parking all along there on the south side of Parliament, kind of where the development is going to happen, like that Y1 on the south side of Parliament.
The parking occurs on both sides of Parliament from Pasco Street east
Yeah.
until you get to the playground, which you can't see on your map, but there's a
Right.
playground just as you meet up with the houses, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
And all the way down Queen Street. So both of those, and then there's parking issues on 25th as well, and the properties around there, because I've seen people that will park on the retail lots and walk across the street up into there's a condominium development in there. I think people go in there and park. So it's
yeah.
all over the place.
Obviously, if we have a development there, people won't be parking because, there's the front, it's going to be the front part of the buildings and
I don't know what frontage it would have, whether it
Exactly.
would come
So-
in from Queen and Pasqua or whether it would be each individual
Anyways,
entrance.
that space is gone.
Right, well, if it's a strip mall,
Potentially.
I suspect you're not going to have 6 entrances onto the parking lot. So if it's a strip mall, you're going to have entrances on the east or west side, I would guess. If it's individual buildings, then there's, each would have their own access egress, I would think. But
People's parking habits will be changing, obviously, or trying to figure out where they're going to go and what. Yeah, and that's what we got to figure. Yeah,
yeah,
we need to figure that out.
and
Okay.
currently there are no options. And if you're going to increase the activity in the area, then we think this is a timely,
Yeah.
an appropriate time to address the ancillary planning issues that come up with respect to the application in front of you.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so in your discussions, I guess, with administration, was any of these concerns addressed, or what?
Well,
You
they-
said you walked away with a good feeling, so that's great. Yeah,
Well, good feeling in the sense, not, the staff didn't come and say, okay, well, we can do this or this or this. Like, they didn't make promises or commitments to us. What was the positive was, we felt it was an honest dialogue and exchange of issues. And at one point, one of the city staff, and again, I'm not trying to make it difficult, but at one point they said, we didn't know there were no curbs. We didn't know there were just ditches and there's no drainage, right? So that, I don't see that as a flaw in that person, but that was the level of discussion that we had in terms of the exchange of ideas and the challenges and problems as we see it. They didn't go away saying, well, we'll do X, Y, or Z for you. We went away understanding what the issue was, and that's why we're here to say, well, we think these are the three solutions that would be the best for you and for the neighborhood, sort of a win-win, if you will, and maybe the luck of the Irish on today as well.
okay. Okay,
I am wearing green, and I have my hat from Ireland. But
okay, thank you. Okay, so I guess there's a lot of questions for administration, which thank you for presenting. And so just to clarify though, so that, because I'm about directions and I can be directionally challenged in terms of geography, but, and I think we were talking about east and west and north and south, but Parliament does run east to west.
Correct.
And Pasqua north to south. I mean, not to be the master of the obvious, but I think maybe I got confused in the conversation, but we'll have clarification when we talk to administration. So thanks so much I don't see anyone else on here, Bill, and thank you for addressing commission. And so I'll ask you to please return to the gallery. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay, so I'd like to call upon next delegation, Dustin McCall and Chad Jedlick, City Land Development. So please introduce yourself for the record, the organization you are representing, if any, and what city or town you reside in. You will have 5 minutes to address the commission, after which you will have the opportunity to respond to any questions that members of commission may have for you. When you're ready, please go ahead.
Thank you and good afternoon, Chairperson and members of Regina Planning Commission. My name is Dustin McCall. I'm Manager of Land Development here at the City of Regina. I'm joined today by Chad Jedlick, who's our Director of Land, Real Estate and Economic Development here at the City. We're here today representing the city's interests as owners of the land on 4025 Parliament Avenue, the report in front of you today. We're appearing as a delegation to differentiate ourselves as the role with the City Land Development Branch as the developer from our city colleagues over here as the regulator of that development. The development of city-owned lands occurs in alignment with the principles noted in the city's land development and disposition strategy, which was previously approved by City Council in 2024. City-owned land slated for development goes through the same municipal processes as any other developer, private developers per se. The proposed rezoning of 4025 Parliament Avenue before Planning Commission today is a great opportunity for the city to transition this underutilized land into a well-positioned commercial development. It will generate one-time land sale proceeds, and it will provide ongoing property tax to the city. Much consideration has gone into the development of this site. The original developable area was reduced significantly, approximately 3.6 acres, to facilitate the construction of the cricket field presented in your drawing package to satisfy the growing demand for that sport. The cricket field development includes a parking lot to support rec activities or recreational activities on the site and minimize impacts to existing residents. There's no current plan for the development of the site. So once zoning is considered and approved, the city's land development branch will go forth and will subdivide and service the parcel and market it publicly for sale. And due to airport proximity, the property may not be developed for residential use. It can only be zoned for commercial development. So we're here today for and available for any questions that you may have on the site.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Do members of commission have any questions for the delegation? Councillor Siklees, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Dustin. Thanks, Chad. It's my first time having you present in this way, so it's kind of different. Let's see how we can do here. Probably these questions are for admin, but I thought I'd bring them up here. You made a comment, Dustin, that there's been a lot of time and effort put into this, and I look at the comments and feedback, which are normally not great. You know, I don't think I've seen anything in the teens ever last year and up till now. If anyone else remembers, let me know. So we had 9 total responses, and it looks like, parking comes up more than once. And when I look at parking and traffic, they seem to be, in my opinion, just sloughed off in terms of our response. So if so much thought has gone into this, why are we saying that, parking, if it's an issue, we'll just ticket illegal parkers? And then secondly, on the traffic side of things, we don't need a traffic impact assessment. Now, this could be new guy syndrome on my part, but if something has been studied so much and we're saying, well, we'll just ticket cars that aren't parked where we want them to be, and we don't need a traffic assessment, what does that say about how in depth we've gone into planning for this piece of land?
Through the chair, so probably some of these questions are better directed towards administration in this instance, but from my standpoint, the parking challenges there are related to the play fields. And so when we look at development of this site, the thought that's been put into it is for a long time, this site sat stagnant with no development plans on it. And our process as stewards for city-owned land was to ensure that if there were any municipal uses required for the site, those would be accommodated first. And so that's where it was determined that a cricket pitch is needed in this area. And we looked at the demands for that cricket pitch, including, having a parking field dedicated for it, being developed in it. We wound up reducing the developable area of the commercial land to accommodate the cricket pitch. And so what we've been left with here is the strip along Parliament. In terms of how the specific parking is handled on these sites, it's obviously a concern. Like, you want sites and intersections to function well. So one of the things we've talked about is that in this situation, like, there's also as owner of the land, you can impose restrictive access agreements, and you can identify prior to the sale of the land where access points will be permitted. Even if in the zoning bylaw they would be permitted closer, that's something that a landowner has a right to do, is place that encumbrance on title and then have that carry forward on that title for perpetuity until it's removed. And so those are some considerations that we look at, probably differently than if we were a private land developer owning this land. We also consider just how the overall network will function for the benefit of the city. So that's something that we have as landowner that we can put in place prior to the sale of this land. The other thing that we do is when we market land, when we market multifamily parcels, we don't always just take the highest price. We can put some other factors in that we consider for the sale. And in part, again, that's because we recognize that when a development is constructed, it can add value to an area or it can diminish the value. And so those are some of the factors we consider in the town's development, which the city owns and we manage. When we're looking at multifamily sites, we care about the price per acre that we get. We care about the terms that was sold on, but we also care about how that development will fit into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
In particular, how it appears on the outside. Care less about the composition of the units inside, but the outward appearance matters. How the parking fields work, traffic flows, that matters, because the money that we get from the sale of the one parcel is sort of one component of it. What we don't want to do is devalue all the other land around it. So when we're looking at infill development like this, as representative of the cities, we also do care about how the neighborhood functions as a whole. And so I think some very fair comments and concerns were raised by the previous delegation. And I think there definitely are issues related to parking, related to specific events that go on at rugby fields and the flag football field. And I think those are probably questions that best are directed to administration in terms of how they plan to handle that. But in terms of the zoning that's requested today, the reason I requested MH is because there are a number of uses in that are simply permitted versus discretionary. And when you go out to market something, if something has a discretionary use, it impairs the value of it. And so people, rather than buying it right away, if they aren't sure if they can do what they want to do on it and they have to go through council, it does just sort of clog up the wheels a little bit. From our standpoint, in terms of what the interest that we've had has been more in line with professional services buildings. So a small office that's sort of as seen down Pasqua.
Yeah.
It's not to say that someone might not come forward and say, hey, we'd like to do a gas station. I think we would have to understand whether that's an appropriate use on the corner, and how that might impact function of that intersection at Pasqua and Parliament. So, but
Okay, you covered off a lot of bases that I was thinking about, so thank you very much to both of you. You said that there's been some interest, so you've sort of contacted a few people that you know, or they've contacted us and said, what are you doing with this and how can we get involved?
through the chair, I think this has been, known to be city land for a long time, and a lot of
Yeah.
people have expressed interest in it. And so we have been reached out to a few times. Of course, it can't be residential, so it's only for, office commercial uses. So.
Okay, well, I was trying to blue sky what could go in there, but I don't want to put that on camera in case, there's businesses that want to surprise us, so I'll leave that up to you guys. Thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I have Commissioner Torgerson.
Hi. So I wanted to see if you guys could provide any feedback around your discussion with this site reviewed against like the bigger city plan, and specifically around offices and like downtown revitalization. I know there's like lots of discussion about how to bring people back to downtown, and that does involve a lot of office space. And I know you've restricted how large an office could be in this area, but how does this impact kind of like the revitalization, try to draw people back downtown if we're creating new Class B office space outside of downtown?
Through the chair, I would say that question is probably best referred to administration. From our standpoint, this is land that really the only use is for commercial, whether that be retail or small scale office or institutional. And there are certain businesses that, in my experience, fit well in the downtown, and there are others that fit more appropriately outside of the downtown. And so the OCP and the zoning bylaw, sort of speak to a lot of those considerations. And, from our standpoint, this is land on an existing road with existing services. And so what we're looking to do is put it into production to generate additional property taxes and fully utilize service land within the city.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hill, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I appreciate it. I'm trying to get a grasp of your responsibility here. Your role is to sell land that belongs to the city in order to generate revenue off of it. And I think maybe George was trying to tell me not to talk about further issues, but are there other opportunities that you would investigate on behalf of the city for use of the land other than to sell it for a developer to use?
Through the chair, so prior to the sale of any city land, we do undertake a review to see if there are any municipal needs that can be accommodated. The last thing we want to do is sell off a parcel of land and then all of a sudden discover we need a fire station or a school site or something. And so we really try to go through quite a process. And so the real estate team does an annual survey of all the departments to understand their land needs for the next 10 years. And so on this site, which was largely viewed as fully developable, that process yielded the fact that a cricket pitch would be required. As well, we've tried to accommodate pathway needs, but that's the process that we go through. And so it's a careful balance. We don't want to be sitting on a bunch of underutilized land that's already been serviced, that could be generating property taxes, that could reduce outward sprawl. But we also don't want to just sort of fire sale land and then be stuck not being able to accommodate other city needs, especially something like a cricket pitch where a land assembly is very difficult to undertake.
For clarity, this is serviced by roads, but it doesn't have any other infrastructure servicing it, does it?
No, there are underground utilities on the adjacent sides, and so there would be new servicing run under the backside of this and new shallow utilities like for power and gas, but the roads and the main sewers are adjacent to it. So,
okay. So in your conversations with other city departments, were there other options that were considered other than commercial property that didn't make the grade for this proposal?
Not for this site.
Okay. Thanks. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Aston.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, my question is, the area to the south is proposed for a cricket pitch, and I was able to find the sort of conceptual design that there is right now for that. Quickly trying to find it here during the meeting, but in that parcel, there is a parking lot proposed. Was there any consideration or thought or ability to move that parking maybe to the north side of the whole parcel and put it in the corner of Queen and Parliament and maybe have it be kind of dual use for the cricket pitch and for the fields across the way? I realize it would take away some commercial property, but then there would maybe open up something on the south end of that property that could be developed in some way. And then the last part of my question through the chair is, I thought as well there was a playground proposed for this site at one time. So if nothing else, could the playground go down in that very bottom south corner and make it something for other uses, not just the cricket pitch? Through the chair.
Through the chair, I'd refer the question on the playground over to administration, as that area is really outside of our jurisdiction now, like it's been dedicated as an MR. And then as far as the solutions to parking, with my other hat, I'm aware of, some, areas that may be developed for parking to satisfy the demand on the rugby pitch that are on the north side of Parliament, that might reduce the need to actually cross Parliament if the parking, like if the main parking generator is on, is the rugby fields or the flag football fields, keeping the parking closer to that and on the same side of the street as the field, I think, is a better solution, but I'll let the planning department address those.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sontag, please go ahead.
There we are. Now, well, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Does that mean we need to leave, or do you want me to just hang on?
You can ask your question.
Okay. Two questions. First of all, I think I know the answer to this, but I just want clarity on it. The previous presenter talked about meeting with city officials. That was not you, or it did include you?
So through the chair, and the reason we're appearing as delegation is because when we do take city land, forward for development, it still is regulated by the planning department. And so when we put application in for a rezoning, it's to the planning department, and then as part of that application fee, they host the open house. And so they hosted the open house, and Mr. McCall was at the open house.
Okay.
Member of my staff was there, yes.
Okay. Thank you. In trying to achieve the right balance, how much if you were to accommodate their request and set it as a ML, medium low rise, how much does that impede development?
Through the chair, I think that it's difficult to quantify it. It certainly adds a step in that a number of the uses become discretionary instead of permitted, and so that will impact land values depending on what someone is looking to do there. So, but there is no definitive development plan today, so I can't really give you a figure. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rasovich, please go ahead.
Through the chair, same questioning along the lines of Mr. Sontag. So if we went ML, what would be excluded from MH? Like, I guess I just don't know. I don't know all the things that are excluded or included, or because I know the last delegate, he mentioned car washes, drive-through restaurants, and gas stations. Is there anything else that's not part of that? And is it also a height thing? Is it also a...
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, through the chair, the planning department is for sure better equipped to answer what's in and out. The height thing is not really an issue because of the airport already. Like there's already some height restrictions, but there are probably certain things that would be simply not permitted. Like within the zoning bylaw, something is either permitted, discretionary, or prohibited. And so, a couple of the uses might shift from, permitted to prohibited, or they might be shifted from permitted to all of a sudden discretionary. And if it's discretionary, it means that you have to come back, for approval, and that's a discretion of a committee as well as council. And so when you have that uncertainty, it does add time to development timelines, and it introduces some risk which can impair the value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you don't have any extra information about parking with the cricket and how many spots it would be? That would be...
I think planning department will.
Oh, sorry?
The planning department will have that
Yeah,
information.
they'll have that. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation and for addressing commission today. I don't see any more questions, so I'll ask you to please return to the gallery. Okay, Okay, we will now consider item RPC 26-4, official community plan and zoning bylaw amendments for 4025 Parliament Avenue. I will ask a member of administration to please introduce the report. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, what's your... Okay, sorry, Zoe, please go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Chair and members of Planning Commission. This item addresses an application to rezone a portion of 4025 Parliament Avenue from PS Public Service Zone to MH Mixed High-Rise Zone, and to amend the official community plan by eliminating neighborhood-specific policies that have guided this proposal. City Council's approval is required on all OCP and zoning bylaw amendments. The subject property is city-owned land. This rezoning will allow the City of Regina to sell the property on the market for commercial development in accordance with the proposed zone and development standards. If approved, the MH zone will allow the developer to pursue a mix of medium-intensity commercial development along an arterial roadway, which is Parliament Avenue. The subject property is located in the Albert Park neighborhood and is currently vacant. Land to the immediate south is also vacant and intended to accommodate a public full-sized cricket field. Public notification was carried out in accordance with the City of Regina's public notice bylaw and summarized in Appendix B, public feedback. Considering these factors and the benefits to the neighborhood, administration's recommendation is for approval. Thank you. Administration is available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Can I have someone move the recommendation, please? Anyone? Commissioner, okay, I'm going to make sure I say it correctly. Markenstein? Thank you. Okay, would you like to speak to the report?
There we go. First of all, I'd just like to say, if possible, if we could get documents that are referenced, for example, if there is a proposed plan for the pitch, if we could get that in our package so that we're not all Googling it to try and find out, for those of us that are new, just so a complete package of the documents, that would be really helpful. So I'll just start with that. I know there's lots of questions coming, and then I'll just wait from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from commission members on the report? Wait for the lights. Okay, Commissioner Torgerson, please go ahead.
Hi. I guess you're going to get some repeat questions from what we've asked the delegation, and mine was just regarding this site in comparison to like the global master plan for the city, and just how more office space outside of downtown, when we are trying to get more or less vacancy for offices downtown. I know that it is a smaller scale, but even on Parliament, there's the EQ banking offices and there's accountants, and there are firms that could very easily be downtown and would support the downtown group. So I don't, once it goes ahead, we can't dictate what office gets to go in that space and what doesn't. And so then have you had discussions about what that looks like?
Autumn, please go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Chair Radens. Thank you for the question. When we look at creating complete communities, we know that there's going to be a mix of uses within neighborhoods, and encouraging the right scale and density within neighborhoods is certainly something that we strive for. And bringing forward this application, we see no concern with the proposed zoning. With relation to your question on office, the City of Regina does have an office policy within the official community plan, and then we further regulate office through zoning. So essentially, how that works is we regulate it by size. And so some of our major offices and most of our medium offices are more appropriate for the downtown as per the policy, allowing some of the, there's some additional spaces that do allow for more medium scale office. We wouldn't see a medium scale office or a major office in this location. What we would see is what we call minor office. So those that are typically under the 1,000 square meters in size, which is what you see within neighborhoods or within arterial or along arterials such as this. So we do know that there has to be a mix of uses within neighborhoods, and then trying to manage the office policy through size of office buildings, and directing those major and medium offices more towards our central business district.
So if a proposal came through for this space, you guys have, I guess, regulations around like what the office could be. So it's because it's not a discretionary use, so they can essentially propose whatever they want, but you have some wording in the OPC that kind of triggers what is allowable.
Through you, Chair Adams. So it's yeah, based on that size. It's the threshold.
Okay. Yeah, because you know that a developer could like say, yeah, we'll have 3 units of 1,000 square meters, but then it gets built and then the tenant comes and is like, well, we want all 3 bays. There's nothing to stop them from like not giving them all 3 bays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something we do manage on a regular basis and have conversations about that, not just on this site, but throughout the city itself, and trying to manage appropriate scale and densities where we can.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Aston, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll start with my question that I asked the last delegation. So I realize this is an adjacent property, but the two are pretty intertwined in the development plan. So is there any value, or was there any thought of looking at where the parking is for the cricket pitch and associating it with the commercial land on the north side, and maybe making it kind of a dual use parking there, and maybe creating some other land for a playground or park on the south side? Through the chair.
Ms. Dawson, please go ahead.
Through you, Chair Adams. I would like to introduce some colleagues. I have Mr. Chris Sale here and Melissa Coder, and they're more equipped to speak to the cricket pitch. I will just remind Commission that the cricket pitch isn't part of the application today. It is the commercial, but I think the question is fair to say about how the original orientation of the field versus the commercial area came to be, and maybe Mr. Sale could provide some information and background on how that came to be.
Mr. Sale, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. The layout of the park space, Rawlinson Crescent Park is what it's called if people are trying to Google it. You can see when you Google it, there's information on the Regina's Be Heard page. There's a couple of different designs that were up there based on public consultation. So the layout of the park itself took into consideration what the neighborhood needs. So specifically, as far as a playground goes, this park, the entirety of this park falls within the 800-meter walking standard of 2 other playgrounds, the playground at Hudson Park and the playground at Queen Street / Ethel Milliken Park. And it also falls partially within the walkshed of Realtors Park Playground. So when we were looking at whether the neighborhood needed another playground, we looked at that information and decided that no, it didn't need another playground. The second thing, in terms of the location of the parking lot, because we were trying to manage the needs of parking for the cricket use as opposed to managing the needs of the parking for a wider problem in the neighborhood, we chose to allocate the same number of parking stalls that we have at Douglas Park for the cricket use. And we chose to put those stalls in the location that they are, cognizant of the fact that there will be additional demand, and we know that
that flag football will be seeking parking, but that parking is meant first and foremost to make sure that whatever problems we have with parking in the neighborhood are not exacerbated by adding the cricket activity. So cricket, as some may know, cricket games can last 8+ hours. So cricketers will be there early in the morning and they could play a single game all day. So the goal is to sort of get them off site so that they're not impacting other parking in the area. But essentially the cricket activity and the flag football activity will happen concurrently.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. I was going to reference the Douglas Park parking, so I'm glad that was brought up. That's where I observed quite a bit of parking next to the cricket pitch, and I wondered where the 41 stalls came from. So it's probably pretty well utilized. When I drive by there, it seems like that's a lot of parking there. So well, just food for thought, anyways. Okay, my other questions. So basically, I wanted to question on the report. And first of all, I want to say it was a very well written report to Zoe. I'm not trying to criticize. I just have a comment. In the policy impact section, I felt that maybe there was some real key policies missed. There was quite a bit of work on the area land use collaboration project with the airport to inform future planning. And there's about 3 things going on across this site. There's a future runway extension, which impacts the height. There's a noise exposure on this site that will change over time as the runway extends. And then there's residential restrictions on this site to do with the Area 2, as it's known in the official community plan mapping. So all of those policies are quite impactful on this site. Not a lot of sites in Regina, but this one in particular. And the report doesn't mention any of those. And so I think that to inform council of a lot of those things, that actually some of them are passed by this council, but to reflect the policy that's affecting this site, I think those are like key little nuggets that probably I'll just make a friendly suggestion that they could be in there to improve that information for council as they take this information in. So I think it would be much stronger if some of those references were made. And the implications of those policies were noted in the report. So I don't have a question. That was just a comment. Max question though. How are restrictions going to be communicated and enforced for the site? The report does make reference to height restrictions, the ones that I just referred to do with overlay zones. It does have noise restrictions, so the development is restricted based on noise. The reference was made to residential, but there's actually other noise impacts that are federally guidelined for how things can be developed, specifically to do with daycares, kids, schools, things like that, and other developments, but those ones stick out in my mind. So are those going to be restrictive covenants on the site or on the land titles, or are they through the planning department, or how do those actually get, how does the rubber hit the road there on those restrictions, I guess? Through the chair.
Through you, Madam Chair. I would direct commissioners to bottom of page 4 of 6 of the report. We have a detailed paragraph outlining the proposed rezoning and the airport related policy which apply to this particular property. And we have a good working relationship with the Regina Airport Authority, and they were made aware of this application and are in support of the application. The policies that do apply, of course, would restrict certain heights and certain limitations. From a zoning perspective, there's not much to apply here, but when we do our development review, those things come into play through the regulatory review and our processes and restrictions that we look at, just like setbacks or anything else would be part of our regular review. As per the restrictive covenant question, Mr. Mario, do you have anything further to add on that?
Through the chair, being that it is city land, that is a possibility. There is nothing in zoning that would prevent any other land uses other than other than residential, however. That's what the regulations and policies suggested, what was approved last year.
Thank you. So, yes, I acknowledge it was on page 4, at the bottom of page 4, but I'm just pointing out there's a section that says policy impact, so that's kind of why I was highlighting that there's a lot of policy that's affected, so just a friendly amendment or suggestion. There are federal guidelines on development in noise-exposed areas that are available, and I'd encourage them to be reviewed. Final question. Is there, I think this has been answered, but I'll just say it this way. There is no pending sale of this property that would be impacted by any revisions to this report or timeliness. Is that fair to say, through the chair?
Ms. Dawson?
This would have been a great question for the delegation, but I think I clearly heard them say that they don't have any.
Okay. That's everything for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hill, you're next.
Thanks. Commissioner Aston asked a couple of my questions. I would like to go to page 5 of 6 of the report. The second bullet, it says there's other city-owned lands in the vicinity that are suited to expand parking options for users of the park, should resources be dedicated. Is that area T that the delegation spoke to, or are those other lands that I'm not aware of? What are the lands that are being represented there?
Ms. Dawson?
Through the chair, yeah, certainly when we hear feedback about existing parking problems in the area, not related specifically to the zoning, but I think the community has provided some feedback on existing problems. We've been working collaboratively with some other areas of the city, Muscadere's area being one of them, which manages the relationship with some of the users in the rugby field, and looking at options for reducing that impact in the neighborhood, regardless of this rezoning, right? And so, yeah, that's something that we certainly need to take away. There are other options other than just the one that we've talked about today, and exploring those and understanding what resources, meaning financial resources, may be requested through the budget process for updating those parking areas, and what might be feasible and acceptable within the user groups as well. Yeah. So there's conversations to be had.
So are you able to speak to what some of those other parking options are that you're having conversations around?
With respect, through you, Madam Chair, I'm not able to at this point in time, and it's not particularly relevant to the rezoning application. The applicants have provided that they will be providing parking on the site for their particular use, and the existing parking in the area is something that the city is working to address with those user groups, regardless of whether this zoning takes place or not.
Yeah, I think, so here's my concern here is that we're trying to deal with this rezoning very much independently and on its own, when we've identified that there's several articulating factors, whatever the right word for that is. There's a bunch of overlaying factors here that need to be considered together to have a holistic approach to the use of these lands. And the rugby pitches, or the cricket pitch, is being dealt with independently, and this property is being dealt independently. And we're looking at parking issues for the rugby field being dealt with independently. And even in the mix to this, it says, and we don't think we need to do a traffic assessment. I drive the area. If we're going to add this business and this cricket pitch, we need a traffic assessment there and some concern for pedestrians. I think it does need to be taken into consideration as a holistic approach. How are we going to handle the impact of the cricket field, the business, the leftover land there, and the others? It's so integrated. I think it needs to be dealt with together.
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, we have looked at this all together. I don't have particular sites that the city could develop at this time. We do know of other city lands in the area. There's some across the street from this particular subject property in all directions. And we're just going through the process of understanding what's feasible, what those might cost to develop, the impact, or even if they're going to be usable from the user groups and those types of things. So I don't have a particular list of, these items could be developed, those can go forward to council, we'll have budget for those, and that's no problem. I don't have that for you today. But yeah, certainly something the teams are looking at. I might see if Ms. Coder could provide some information on how we're dealing with the user groups and what kind of conversations we're having with the user groups, and some options that we might be looking at for that.
Ms. Godere, please go ahead.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Chair Radens. I'm the manager of sport facilities and special events with the City of Regina, so my staff oversee both the relationship with the flag football group, with Regina Youth Flag Football, with the rugby club, with cricket. We also allocate all those spaces, so we know who's on the field, when, and why. And so there have been some discussions around how often this field is in use for Regina Youth Flag Football. It's in use 16 mornings a year. So the Regina Youth Flag Football spring season starts on May 2nd and ends June 21st. So for 16 days from 8:30 in the morning until 12:30, there is congestion in the area. I live in the area. I see it. What I would say is city administration is working very closely with Regina Youth Flag Football to do a better job communicating to their participants and to their parents about proper parking proper parking in the area. So please not parking on Parliament. That's dangerous. It creates dangerous crossings for people. It's dangerous for cars. We are actively working with Regina Youth Flag Football. They want to work with us because this site is key to their ability to continue to offer this program. To get an idea of how many participants are coming and how many spectators are coming to the Regina rugby field on a Saturday or Sunday morning, there are between 1,000 and 1,200 people an hour at Regina Rugby Field. Regina Rugby Park is the only place in Regina where we have 4 athletic fields next to each other. Regina, when you play flag football, it's played with 4 teams horizontally across the field. So imagine you have 16 flag football teams playing per hour, and you have on average it's cute. The kids playing flag football, so cute. We have an average of 3 spectators per participant. So today the Regina Rugby Park parking lot that's associated with the rugby park fits about 230 cars. When mom and dad take 2 separate cars and grandma takes a car, it very quickly exceeds the 230 spots we have available at the rugby park. The other thing that I would say is when it's the most congested is in that switchover. So you've got the 8:30 to 9:30 group leaving, the 9:30 to 10:30 group coming in, and all of a sudden you have 2,400 people in that space. And it can be congested. Now, if we were to add another parking lot, as was discussed, you guys were discussing about my colleague calculated that we could fit another 230 cars. Regardless of whether we, look at this additional parking lot, it would be used about 16 mornings a year, and it would accommodate another 20% of the cars in the area. My team, in addition to working with flag football, working with the community association, working with rugby, we also are the area that has received the community concerns. And so yes, there's concerns about illegal parking on Parliament. Absolutely. There's a solution to that. That isn't, it's communication with the group. It's working with, our partners and colleagues in bylaw, because that is unsafe. It's unsafe for the kids as well. And also, when we are hearing from residents, there's a lot of concern about I can't park in front of my house. And I understand that's difficult. Like if you're used to parking your vehicle in front of the house, you go out to get groceries, you come back, you can't park. I appreciate that's challenging. It is, again, 16 mornings a year. And this isn't specific to Regina Rugby Park. We get these concerns around Douglas Park. We get these concerns around Mount Pleasant. The one thing about Mount Pleasant, it's not residential adjacent, but we absolutely get these similar concerns about parking. In order to fit, we would need like a 500 car parking lot, and that just isn't something that we would add for 16 days of the year typically. So I hope that helps answer your questions around how often this is happening, about how many people are using it, how many cars, what we're doing to try to improve this. And I can say halfway through last year, administration started working very closely with Regina Youth Flag Football. It's our intent to do it this year at the very beginning of this season. We're already working with Mr. Thomas from Flag Football, who will be coming to council on Wednesday to talk about his program and how important this space is to them and how hard they're working to improve parking. I think that there's a solution here about parking, which is outside of this commercial development, that we're working towards. And, you know, another parking lot for 16 days a year may not be the best solution. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks. I appreciate the information, especially the number of vehicles and flow and stuff. It does go to the issue at hand for me is that this is being dealt with in a singular instant as opposed to bringing the broader development of the area together. I don't remember, I think it might have been John that had commented about would there be capacity to put a play park at the other end, because we do have a play park there in Parliament already, which creates a 30K zone on an arterial where you could replace that with a park on the south part of this and get the 30K zone into the residential and create more space either for more flag football or more parking off of Parliament on that side. But I could see plenty of other development opportunities here. I'll cede the floor, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. Councillor Sickleys, I did have you on the list, but you might have have you decided? No? Okay, please go ahead.
I try to be nice. It's St. Patrick's Day. Nothing frustrates me more than being told, well, just look at this. And yet in other meetings, well, look at the big picture. And Fred was on that. That's great information, Melissa. Should have been part of the report, in my opinion. I'm not separating parking from this. You're not getting my vote. And I would love to see this place developed. As you can tell, there's 3 of us that are a council here who are going to start bringing out the collection plate to try and get more taxes pretty soon, the way we're going. So yes, I want more taxes paid. Yes, I want this to be sold to the highest bidder. But I think this was a miss, leaving the parking out for the people who use it across the street. I think it doesn't cost a lot of money to throw some gravel down in that area T. If you just had that in there, you have my vote. Simple as that. So I would probably vote for option B. Come back with a better plan that includes the parking, because right now it excludes it. And we talk, you know, in big words about accommodating people, and all I see is we're going to ticket people. Not for me. I won't be voting for that. Thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Aston, I do have questions, so I'm going to go ahead of you if that's all right. So the delegation that was here, and so I guess I have questions, but they're all over the place. But pertaining to the 3 points that they brought up, and I just want us to go back to the conversation that was had and how that went to address. Number 1 was the pedestrian crossing, from what I understand. Then the difference in the ML versus the MH, and also the parking, because I am going to say that I do agree with Councillor Sickleys in that when we take this to council, the parking is going to come up. It always does. So, so maybe we can start there, and then I can follow up with a few questions.
Sounds good. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the questions. So the parking and the pedestrian are, again, associated with the area uses already. So the delegation was asking for consideration of better neighborhood parking for the existing parking problem for consideration. And so we see that as working together collaboratively and bringing forward solutions to council through budget process, because there will be costs to developing city-owned lands, either through the land development reserve or through our parks area and recreation area. So somebody would be asking for that because there's been no budget allocated for those improvements. From the ML versus the MH, and I should say that we are completely, happy to do that if that's the direction of council. Go back and work on a solution for that. So regarding the ML versus the MH, the MH is mixed high-rise. It's appropriate for an arterial road. Parliament Avenue is an arterial road, has the capacity, and we often talk about utilizing our assets to the best capacity as possible. And so MH fits the criteria for this particular site context. In addition, the MH does afford some accommodations in terms of larger area square footage for restaurants or a lounge or different shops. So if you think about a Shoppers, it may be limited if it was in the ML, because the ML size restrictions are there. Not saying that's what's happening. Again, I'll repeat that we don't have any indication, but a pharmacy or something like that may be restricted in the ML because it's too large. Or it might be a discretionary use, and we'd have to go back out to community, so it's a little bit more regulatory rigor, whereas the MH affords those as permitted uses. And those are the things that we're trying to accommodate, where context provides that affordability, where it's deemed appropriate due to its location within the neighborhood and has the appropriate infrastructure already.
Okay, so thank you. And in regards to the parking, now I heard that it's only 16 days out of the year. However, when the group Mr. Wells presented the delegation, he did indicate that it is busy there for about 4 months out of the year. And so then I do have concerns regarding a few things, and certainly the residents in the area's frustration, number one. And number two, aside from 16 days out of the year, and I think good point. However, the summer period seems to be busy. And so I guess safety becomes a concern if we're asking folks to not park on Parliament, but yet where do they park otherwise? And so I'm not saying that we need to have more parking. We have a lot of parking in this city already. However, this area is a little probably unique, right, in that it's street parking specifically. So Rugby doesn't have a parking spot other than 230 space, right? And so then the other 250 people are parking on the street, and so we're fighting over a space. Okay, so I understand that. I heard all that. So I guess my question is safety, and how do we get a lot of calls from residents during that season? And how many years has that been going on for, and what are we doing to address that? And I think that's a good and a fair question, I think, if I might say so, but I'll let you talk to that.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Chair. So yeah, it puts that context into, on the floor, and certainly something that we're able to address. So I think that it's important to recognize that there is an existing parking problem during those Saturdays during the spring and into the summer, and it's something that we already know that we need to work through and address. And so that's something that the team has already flagged, no pun intended, and is working through with the user groups and making sure that the users are safe and that their spectators are safe. So that's happening regardless. Whether that concludes in different arrangements with the user group, or whether that results in a request coming to utilize another city area for parking, which there are some options that we are reviewing again to understand what those requests might be and to evaluate the feasibility of those and the implications of potentially turning those into parking areas. But I will let Ms. Coder address the user groups specifically and provide some clarity on the timing, which I think she did. But if there's any further questions, Ms. Coder could take that because she deals directly with the user groups.
I think it's clear in regards to the 16 days, but the user groups kind of spoke to it, I think, with the rugby and the time frame for the summer. So is there any clarification that you need to make on that? That would be great.
I listened to Mr. Wells' presentation as the person who oversees the allocation for that field and who looked at it in advance of this meeting. Yes, there is fall youth flag football. Yes, there is fall beach volleyball, but the number of participants is significantly lower for those for that time period. So you don't see that same parking flowing out from the parking lot. And to add to you asked another question, Chair?
I don't remember now because my notes are all over the place.
You asked how often we get a complaint.
Right. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So we do get we get complaints throughout the summer. We get probably 1 or 2 service requests from residents per week around parking concerns throughout the city. And so maybe 1 every 2 weeks about this location. This is very common in recreation. It's very nice to live by a park, but sometimes that park is in use and people do park in front of your home.
Okay, well, that sounds quite a little bit better than expecting that it would be like a daily thing, and we're ticketing people over the top, and so that's good. Okay, well, that's good to know. That makes me feel just a little bit better. So I do have another in the report. I think that when we talked about parking, or and correct me if I'm wrong, in that the proponents or the developer that takes on a project there would be responsible for parking and things to that effect, correct?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I'm not exactly sure where in the report is identified, but this particular application is for the rezoning, and then when we review the actual proposals, we'll be reviewing for parking, and Mr. Jedlick had confirmed that they would be looking at that as well in terms of the sales and the proposals from the city's perspective as well.
Okay, great. So I think I feel good about supporting this, and then certainly I guess in terms of the process. So this is educational for me. I'm just sorry, but it's the question I need to, is that once we have a developer or proponent, it'll come back. This will come back for any additional whether discretionary or whatever other considerations they might have. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I was just looking at my colleagues. I don't think they need to come back for anything. No, they don't need permission for anything else. And then the next step, if this was approved through City Council and the bylaw passed so that it was taken out of the current zoning and into a commercial zone where it was able to be developed, the next step would be subdivision. That's administrative process, and then depending on the use that's on the site, if it's permitted, then it'll come through and receive its building permit, and we'd review for parking and the access and services and all that. And then if it was discretionary, those may or may not come back through Planning Commission depending on how the application process goes, because some of those provisions are delegated to administration as well.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Also, again, I would like to, and I think I did mention it last month as well, we made reference to the OCP and reference 2.0 something for whatever that was on there. And so again, I support Commissioners Markenstein's comments requesting that the reference be added. And so in regards to the reference that was provided about Albert Park being deleted out of the OCP, can we just get some clarification on that point, please?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Mario to describe that.
Mr. Mario, please go ahead.
Through the chair, there's a little bit of history here. So the Lakeview and Albert Park neighborhood used to have, well, they still have a neighborhood plan, but it used to be more robust. It was really intended to facilitate the rezoning and subdivision of a much broader area. Those are areas that kind of extend along Pasco Street. It called for the extension of Parliament Avenue, redevelopment of some residential space. It called for the redevelopment and development of the park, which we're now doing, and it also calls for the rezoning of the commercial piece that we're here today to discuss. What we're saying with this is the neighborhood plan after rezoning has served its purpose. It's done. All of the land has been rezoned and subdivided, and therefore the neighborhood plan really serves no purpose after that. It would just be governed by zoning. So we're recommending that the remainder of the neighborhood plan is removed. And the other point that I failed to mention earlier was that it was reduced in scope when City Council had removed some of the neighborhood plans through the HAF initiatives going back to I believe it was last year or the year before. So what is remaining today is really just this site. So once it's rezoned, it's kind of done.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification on that. And I think that I'm good for my questions. And so I do have Commissioner Aston. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. In the heated moment, I couldn't remember the planning document, but it is TP 1247, which is land use in the vicinity of airdromes. And so I would just encourage that to be thrown into the conversation, especially for the city selling the lots. Like a developer of this site would want to know that. That's impactful, and would be federal guidance on uses and acoustical treatments for those uses in this area, especially also considering a land runway extension. It'll get louder in the future on this site. So there's a lot of stuff covering this property, again, more so than most others around the airport, but because it's the main runway, it would be very impactful. So I would just encourage the full package of information to be presented to people, and encourage the guys that are trying to sell the lots to recognize that those restrictions are impactful on this site. So TP 1247, it's been shared with the city many times, and it's a federal guidance on land use in the vicinity of airdromes. So that's my only comment. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. I will now go to Commissioner Markenstein. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm just wondering about the process for discretionary use. Wondering, can we actually request that it comes back to the commission if it's a discretionary use? You mentioned that it's up to the administration somehow, but I'm just wondering what the criteria is for that.
Ms. Dawson?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. So the council has delegated the authority to the administration. However, there's some criteria in which we would be required to bring that back through council. One of those criteria would be a significant public feedback, I guess. And then the others are related to more contextual, whether it's commercial in proximity to residential, those types of things. So for the majority of them, they have been delegated to the administration through council, a bylaw. So the commission wouldn't be able to request that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I'm still concerned that one of the permitted uses is a fuel station. Just kind of, I don't know if it would really fit into the area, so I'm just wondering, are there any particular development controls or things that are also considered as part of the neighborhood plan for the area?
Through you, Madam Chair, they would need to meet the criteria for, entrance and egress into the property, and then just the regular regulations. Mr. Mario has something more to say, though.
Through the chair, a fuel station might be a discretionary use because it's limited to, it's discretionary where it's within, I believe, 75 meters or 70 meters of residential. So depending on where it is on the property, it might be a discretionary use if it is allowed.
Okay, thank you. So we are past our mandatory 5:30 break. And so I'm just wondering where folks are at, if we want to keep pushing on, because I think this is the only item. We're almost complete. So can I get a motion to, skip our mandatory break and press through? Anyone? Yes? Commissioner Sontag, any opposition? Seeing none. All right, that's carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Commissioner Sontag, please go ahead.
Mine is just a process question which might expedite things a little bit. As Councillor Siklis actually had suggested, option 2 might be the direction we're headed, including maybe City Council might be doing that even if it went to City Council. Just the process for everybody if we decide if that's the decision we're going to make here, I mean.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to answer that. I think, do we have to make a motion on that to propose to, or? One moment, please.
You have to defeat the other one, I think, eh? And then.
That I would have to check on, sorry. But I'll check while you carry on with any more questions, maybe.
Okay, so I have Commissioner Torgerson. Oh.
This was just more of continuing the conversation. We remade a motion. So essentially we made a motion and then we passed it for the law office one. So I think we would probably just write what we want the motion to be. And then we would all vote on that.
Yeah, that would be correct. You would make a motion and it's a recommendation to council.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what are you proposing?
Should wait for him to come back because it was.
Okay. All right.
I think he just got to be a minute.
Okay. We'll just wait out for a moment. Are you still on? Do you still need to?
Yes, now I have something to add.
Okay, please go ahead.
I think it might be valuable to ask them to include the low-rise option kind of in that layout when it goes to council, and at least you can see the differences, because the point of discretionary use, we'd have to pick a different a different zoning in order to make those things discretionary, and then it would come back. And then the positive is that you get more feedback on it. The negative is that developers don't love it because they have to spend more time and effort, essentially paying architects, designers to create a plan that then can go to council, and it's like thousands and thousands of dollars, and then it can get turned down. So it just, there's pros and cons to both points.
Okay, so we had a question, Councillor Siklis, regarding your option number 2. And so we would just, if that's where we want to go, to make the motion and putting in what we would like, excuse me, to have in the motion. Okay, so Councillor Siklis, please go ahead.
Funny enough, the zoning doesn't bother me as much because common sense is going to dictate, if we're in business with each other, what are we going to build there, right? You got 2 gas stations and 2 car washes right around the corner. So that doesn't make sense. And then even though one has a 20-meter height allowance, we still have to bring that down based on the airport rules. So if we can save a developer some money to deal with Regina, I'm for it. I don't think saying, well, let's just make it all discretionary is the smartest way to go. This is a small piece of land. It's, yes, there's a busy street in front of it, but I'd like to see it sell for the maximum amount of dollars we can get for it. My only problem was the parking piece, and that we pretend cars don't exist sometimes, and that really ticks me off. Other than that, I loved the analysis from Melissa. That was spot on. I live there too. I see it all the time. It happens to be in my ward, so if I sound a little protective, I think that's my job. If we can solve the parking piece, I'm happy. If you could just tell me you're gonna throw some gravel down, and if that requires some motion from council because it's gonna cost 50 grand, then so be it. But if you're saying, well, don't worry, just vote for this and then we'll take care of the parking in the future. No, I don't have that kind of trust at this point.
Ms. Dawson?
Through the chair, and I don't want to be out of line here, but if the recommendation on the floor, which is to approve the zoning as presented, sits well, it could go with an additional motion or recommendation to also have administration look at additional parking in the area. So that would be an add to our original motion instead of referring it back.
Perfect.
As a
That saves time
potential
too.
option,
Yeah,
yeah.
that saves time because,
So then
Just
you
looking
make-
at the city solicitor, make sure I'm not out of line.
is that okay?
No, yeah, there we go. Thank you, through the chair. That would be fine.
Perfect. I'm good.
It is a direction to the administration though, as opposed to the regulatory planning authority.
Yeah.
But yes,
And this still has to go to council,
yes.
so.
So is that an amendment that we're adding to it? Is that correct?
Addition? You use the
Or
word
just an addition?
It would be an amendment through the
It would
city.
be an amendment.
The clerk's, council officer, is that correct? It would be an amendment to the motion.
I believe so, yeah.
Thank you very much, and I don't want to take up any more time today. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Councillor Sickles. And okay, so then the mover is commission. I don't have anyone else on the list. So if you would like to close as the mover, would you like to go ahead?
I'm not sure what you're asking. I'll close it,
Close. Yeah, close.
right? Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you. So having said, yeah. So do we have to vote on the amendment then? I think.
Oh, she's good. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. All right, so can we have to take a vote, right? So all those in favor of the amendment? Yeah, so we need some clarity. Can we do that? Ms. Dawson, please go ahead.
Well, I would look to Councillor Sickles to provide the wording of the amendment that he would want to move and then be voted on. So if that's the addition of wording to indicate that council refer the issue of additional parking back to administration to review and bring back suggestions for that, or if that's something that you want to move, then I would leave that to you to craft that motion.
Well, I thought it was just to pass it with the addition of addressing the parking. Is that correct, or do we want a more detailed on the parking?
Can't address it until they come back with the option.
Okay,
So, I like the word.
okay. Do you have that?
Sorry, bear with me. I'm new at this.
missed one word.
Yeah, sorry,
Oh, sorry, Aman, through you, the chair. I would just say that typically we would see some clarity around the timing of when you want that to come back, because what you're doing essentially right now, as Ms. Dawson proposed, is you're actually approving the zoning, and secondly, asking or directing administration to come back to either planning commission and or directly to council with information on the parking options that are going to be undertaken.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, by the end of Q2.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just kind of wondering if we need to be this prescribed with the example. I mean, if administration is going to come back with an option, let them give us the options as opposed to putting gravel. Just food for thought. I don't want to be that prescribed. I want them to just come back with what the options are. Okay. Well, it's an amendment to point recommendation number 1 off of the report. So it's just, I think that's understood. Okay, is that good enough?
I got one question around it. So George, are you asking them to bring back parking solutions to here, or to provide that to council when they go with the zoning proposal?
Isn't that outside the scope of planning commission? Parking decisions would be outside the scope of this. It would go straight to council. It wouldn't come to us.
I would suggest that. That this would say that, right? That
It doesn't need to say that because parking would go to council and not come to us. It's like implicit. We don't have to we don't have to name it in the policy.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask administration. So when you come back, I mean, we're approving the MH here, and so the parking, we're asking for you to come back at the end of Q2, and you'll report that to council, correct? Just for clarification.
Yeah, I would see us bringing this forward to council, and if council approves the zoning, we would also approve us bringing back an additional report by the end of Q2 to address only the parking issue.
Oh, okay, sounds good. I think, are we clear on that, everyone? Okay, so do we need to vote on the amendment? I do have Commissioner Aston. You go ahead.
If I can make a suggestion, like, I think we're voting on the motion that's before us,
Yes.
but perhaps as the chair is presenting this to city council, you could give a flavor of all this discussion, and then maybe that's a good time to implement that suggestion of additional, because it's kind of beyond, like, we're just approving this site, not the parking in the area.
Yeah.
But you guys can do whatever you want. So I think that's
Okay.
maybe a better forum for that, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for that. We'll definitely do that. Okay, so we're gonna take a vote on the amendment. And so clerk, can you start the vote on the amendment, please?
Yep. So we'll start with Commissioner Markestein. Oh, sorry.
In favor?
Commissioner Hill.
That's a tough one. I'm in favor of it. Yeah, that's hard.
Commissioner Aston.
I think I just said I'm not in favor, but we'll, that's what I
Okay.
was, I can't really speak to it, I believe,
We're just voting
so.
to this
Yeah.
amendment, yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying this, I don't know if I'm supposed to speak to this, but what I'm saying is, we're just approving option one, and with context that you'll provide to council, I think this is what you'd be saying.
Okay, good point.
So I don't think
I
this
don't
is
think
our
we're, yeah,
area of expert
okay.
responsibility. So
Okay.
maybe we could ask,
So can we get a clarification on that, please?
I think it's just a very clear way to document it.
Yes.
In the meeting minutes.
Okay, so I guess, okay, so what I'm hearing is, we're saying that we present this piece as parking rather than it being an amendment to council. Because that's what you're saying, but I mean, we're already into the vote, right? Because it was proposed as an amendment to option one.
I spoke to it, but I don't.
Okay, so, city, yeah, you did. City solicitor, can you please clarify?
Thank you. I don't necessarily disagree that it's probably borderline whether it's within the scope of the commission. However, discretion over whether you're making a recommendation on zoning parking is relevant to that. And what's being proposed for council to consider is that planning commission does recommend you approve the zoning. The commission has identified there is concern around parking, and our recommendation connected with our advice that you should go ahead with zoning would be that you direct your administration to come back with information about how to improve parking in the area more generally. That report on the general parking concerns and how to address them will come back not to planning commission, but only to council with the options, the budget ask, all of those sorts of things, which clearly is outside of planning's purview. But if you're comfortable that you do agree with approving the zoning on its own, this is fine.
So let's finish that's what I am, please continue with the vote and we'll leave it as an amendment. Thank you.
Okay, just to clarify, you're against the amendment. Commissioner Aston?
Can I change it back to in favor now?
Yes, you can.
Commissioner Torgerson?
In favor.
Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Sontag?
In favor.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilson?
I'm opposed to the amendment.
Councilor Rasevich?
Do we need someone to second the amendment? Have we?
We don't need a second.
You don't second, but, okay, in favor.
Councilor Siklis moved.
I'm the mover, so.
Right, sorry. Okay. The amendment passes with a vote of... Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Radin.
In favor.
Thank you. The motion passes, or sorry, the amendment passes with a vote of 8-1.
Great, thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the original recommendation and mover, Commissioner Markenstein, would you like to close debate? Thank you. And so, clerk, can we start the vote on the recommendation, please?
Okay, so Commissioner Markenstein.
What are we voting for now?
In favor.
Commissioner Hill.
In favor.
Commissioner Aston.
In favor.
Commissioner Torgerson,
In favor.
Commissioner Morgan,
In favor?
In favor?
thank you. Commissioner Wilson,
In favor.
thank you. Counselor Rasevich,
In favor.
Counselor Siklis,
In favor.
and Counselor Rabbits.
In favor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and I would like a motion to adjourn, please. Counselor Siklis, thank you. Anyone opposed? That is carried. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.